Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where we uncover the hidden treasures of American currency. If you're passionate about coins, collecting, or just curious about the fascinating world of numismatics, then you've come to the right place. Today we are going to talk about one of the most shocking and eye-opening discoveries in the world of coin collecting, the 1967 Lincoln 1-cent coin, which has been valued at an astonishing $585,341. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny from 1967 that could change your life forever. Now before we dive into why this coin is so valuable, let's take a quick journey back into history. The year was 1967, the Vietnam War was ongoing, America was experiencing huge cultural changes, and coins were being produced in massive quantities. But hidden among those billions of coins were some incredibly rare pieces that collectors today dream of finding. The United States Mint was producing Lincoln cents made of copper, and millions were entering circulation every single day. Most of those pennies are worth just 1 cent today, maybe a few dollars if they are in pristine condition. But there are some coins with special errors, rare varieties, or extraordinary grades that can fetch unimaginable prices in the coin market. So how does an ordinary 1967 penny become worth over $500,000? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and the story that each coin carries. Certain 1967 pennies were struck with mistakes at the mint, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins pressed on the wrong metal planchet. Collectors crave these types of errors because they are so unique. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that was never meant to exist, a coin that slipped through the strict quality controls of the US Mint and ended up in circulation. That's exactly what makes these coins worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the legendary 1967 penny valued at $585,341 is an example of one of these extremely rare finds. What makes it so valuable is not just its rarity but also the condition it has been preserved in. Collectors use a grading system to measure the quality of coins, ranging from heavily circulated and worn out to pristine mint state condition. The higher the grade, the higher the value. This particular coin was graded at such a perfect level that it became a numismatic superstar. Add in the historical context and the demand among elite collectors, and you end up with a market price that stuns everyone. Think about it for a moment. How many people have tossed pennies aside, ignored them on the ground, or left jars of coins gathering dust in their homes? What if one of those pennies sitting in a jar is actually worth a fortune? That's the exciting part of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story, and every coin has the potential to be something extraordinary. Now let's get into the details that you should look for in a 1967 penny. First, always check the mint mark. In 1967, the US Mint actually suspended mint marks as part of a strategy to reduce coin hoarding, so you won't see a Denver D or San Francisco S on these coins. But that alone makes them special. Second, examine the coin for any doubling on the date or lettering, especially around the word Liberty and In God We Trust. Doubling can mean you are looking at a double die variety, which collectors pay huge premiums for. Third, check for any unusual color or metal composition. If a penny from 1967 was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, then congratulations, you could be holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Another factor that determines value is the strike quality. Some 1967 pennies were struck more sharply, with bold details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and the lettering. Others may have been weakly struck and look flat. The sharper the details, the higher the grade, and the higher the price. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified many 1967 cents, but only the top few in the highest mint state grades bring in astronomical prices like the $585,000 example we are talking about today. Now I know what you're thinking. How can you tell if your penny is special? The first step is to take out a magnifying glass and really study your coins. Look carefully for errors, doubling, or unusual features. The second step is to compare your coin with trusted images from grading companies or coin websites. The third step is to consider submitting your coin for professional grading if you believe it has potential. Sometimes, spending a small amount to get your coin authenticated and graded can lead to a huge payday. This is why so many people are diving into coin collecting today. Not only is it a fun hobby, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. You might start out searching through spare change, bank rolls, or inherited coin collections, and suddenly find yourself staring at a coin worth more than a luxury car, a house, or even a lifetime of savings. So why do collectors pay such high prices for coins like the 1967 penny? Because coins are not just pieces of metal. They are pieces of history. They connect us to the past, they tell the story of our nation, and they represent craftsmanship, design, and sometimes even accidents that should never have happened. Wealthy collectors and museums are willing to pay whatever it takes to own these rare pieces, which drives up the market value. Before we wrap up, let me remind you to never underestimate the power of small change. That penny in your pocket could be worth far more than you imagine. Always check your coins, always keep an eye out for errors, and most importantly, enjoy the process of discovering hidden treasures. If you found this video helpful and interesting, make sure to like the video, share it with other coin collectors or friends, and of course subscribe to Rare US Coins for more amazing stories about valuable coins, coin collecting tips, and market updates. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on the next big discovery. Who knows, the next rare penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars might be sitting in your pocket right now. Thank you for watching. This is Rare US Coins. Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where we explore some of the most fascinating, historical, and valuable treasures ever minted by the United States. Today, we are diving deep into a story that has shocked collectors, investors, and even casual coin enthusiasts around the world. We are talking about a single coin, a 1-cent piece from the year 1974, that has stunned the numismatic market with an incredible valuation of $585,342. Yes, you heard that right, over $500,000 for a penny that most people would simply overlook in their change jar. Now, before we reveal why this coin has reached such a staggering worth, let us first go back in time to understand the historical context. In the early 1970s, the United States Mint was facing a challenge. The cost of producing copper coins was increasing rapidly because of rising metal prices. The penny, traditionally made from mostly copper, was becoming too expensive to manufacture. This pushed the mint to experiment with different materials and designs. That experiment gave birth to several unusual varieties, including some made out of aluminum and some struck in experimental metals. These test coins were never meant to circulate, but somehow, a few pieces found their way into private hands. The 1974 1-cent coin we are discussing today is part of this incredible story. While most pennies from that year were ordinary and worth only their face value, a few rare variations turned into treasures that collectors would do anything to own. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks ordinary to most people, yet carries a value that could buy you a luxury car, a house, or even change your life forever. That is the magic of numismatics, the study and collecting of coins. Now let us talk about what makes this particular 1974 1-cent coin so special. First, its rarity. Very few of these coins exist in the world. Some were destroyed, others were kept locked away in government collections, and only a tiny handful survived in the hands of private individuals. Second, the condition of the coin is extremely important. Collectors and grading companies carefully examine every scratch, every shine, and every tiny imperfection. The coin we are talking about today has been preserved in such a remarkable state that it commands a record-breaking price in the open market. When auction houses present coins like these, the excitement is electric. Collectors from around the globe compete fiercely, each one determined to add this piece of history to their collection. The bidding starts modestly, but as the rarity becomes clear, the numbers rise higher and higher until finally the hammer falls. In the case of this coin, the final price reached $585,342. A jaw-dropping amount for something that most people still call just a penny, but the story does not end there. Beyond the numbers, beyond the money, this coin represents a fascinating chapter of American history. It reminds us how decisions at the mint, changes in the economy, and pure chance can turn an ordinary object into an extraordinary artifact. Every scratch on the die, every experimental strike, every decision made by the engravers and mint officials carries meaning. For collectors, owning such a piece is not just about the money. It is about holding history in the palm of your hand. Here at Rare US Coins, we believe that every coin has a story to tell. Whether it is a penny, a nickel, a dime, or a rare gold piece, these coins are time machines that connect us to the past. They remind us of the people who lived before us, the struggles of the nation, the triumphs of innovation, and the artistry of American craftsmanship. That is why collectors dedicate their lives to studying and preserving these treasures. Now, you might be wondering, how can an average person like you find coins like this? The truth is, while coins worth hundreds of thousands of dollars are extremely rare, there are still many valuable coins circulating in pocket change, old jars, and family collections. A simple penny, nickel, or quarter from a certain year, with a certain mint mark or error, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This is why learning, researching, and paying attention to detail is so important. That penny you ignore today might be the hidden fortune of tomorrow. Collectors often recommend that beginners start by learning the basics. Study the mint marks, learn about the history of different designs, and most importantly, always check your change. Every coin you come across could carry a surprise. In fact, many people have discovered valuable coins in the most unexpected places, like at garage sales, in inherited coin collections, or even in pocket change at the grocery store. As we close this episode, let us reflect again on the incredible story of the 1974 1-cent coin valued at $585,342. It proves that even the smallest piece of metal can carry the biggest stories and the highest values. It also reminds us that the world of numismatics is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this journey into the story of the rare 1974 penny, make sure to subscribe to Rare US Coins and join us as we continue exploring the fascinating world of American coinage. Do not forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave a comment about which coin you would like us to cover next. Your support helps us bring more exciting stories of rare treasures straight to your screen. Thank you for watching Rare US Coins. Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where we explore the hidden treasures inside the change you might carry in your pocket right now. Today's video is going to be a really exciting one because we are talking about a coin that looks very ordinary to most people, but in reality, it can hold a shocking value in today's market. I am talking about the 1989 1-cent coin. Now, when most people hear about a penny, they usually think it is just worth 1 cent and nothing more. But coin collectors and serious numismatists know that some of these pennies can be worth hundreds of dollars or even more depending on their condition, rarity, and special minting errors. That is exactly what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby, because you never know when you might come across one of these hidden gems in your pocket change, in an old jar of coins, or even in your grandparents' collection. The coin we are focusing on today is the 1989 Philadelphia minted Lincoln cent, also known as the 1989 penny. While most of the coins minted that year are still just worth face value, there are certain versions and conditions that can bring in a market value that shocks a lot of people. For example, a single 1989 penny has been reported to have a market value as high as $585.34. Yes, you heard that right, over $500 for a coin that most people would not even bend down to pick up if they saw it lying on the street. Now let us break down why this coin can be so valuable. First, we have to look at the history of the 1989 penny. In 1989, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck more than 7 billion coins. That makes the 1989 penny extremely common in circulation. Because so many were minted, most people assume that none of them can be rare. However, collectors know that value is not just about rarity in terms of mintage numbers, but also about condition, errors, and one of the key factors that can push the value of a 1989 penny sky high is its grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin that looks exactly the way it left the mint, with no scratches, no wear, and no imperfections. If you find a 1989 penny that has been preserved in mint state condition, especially one graded MS-66, MS-67, or higher, you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds of dollars. These coins are rare because most pennies from 1989 have been in circulation for decades, which means they have scratches, wear, discoloration, and damage from handling, but condition is not the only factor. There are also error coins, and error coins are some of the most exciting finds in the hobby. A mint error is when something goes wrong in the coin-making process. For example, it could be a double die error, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or even a wrong metal composition. Some 1989 pennies have been found with striking errors that make them unique, and collectors are willing to pay big money to own these one-of-a-kind coins. So if you are checking your change and you come across a 1989 penny, here are a few things you should look for. First, check if it has the Philadelphia Mint mark, which is simply the letter P located under the date. Then, examine the coin very carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling on the letters or numbers, especially on the word Liberty or on the date. Doubling can sometimes be very obvious or very slight, so pay close attention. Next, check if the coin is perfectly centered. If the design looks shifted or off balance, you may have an off-center strike, which increases value. Also, examine the edges of the coin to see if there are any unusual cuts, clips, or cracks. Finally, check the overall condition. If the coin looks brand new, shiny, and has no scratches, you may be looking at a mint state coin, and that could mean serious value. Now let us talk about the market value again. As I mentioned earlier, some collectors have paid as much as $585.34 for a high-grade or error version of the 1989 penny. While the average circulated coin is still worth just 1 cent, those top-grade examples are what excite collectors the most. It is like winning a small lottery when you discover one. Imagine pulling a penny out of a jar and realizing it is worth hundreds of dollars. That is the thrill of coin collecting. The story of the 1989 penny is also a great reminder to never underestimate small coins. Many people are only interested in silver dollars, gold coins, or rare half dollars, but some of the greatest finds in the numismatic world come from tiny coins like the penny. And remember, the Lincoln cent has been one of the most collected coins in American history because it has been around for over 100 years and because it has so many varieties and errors that keep collectors busy searching. So what should you do if you find a 1989 penny that looks special? The best step is to keep it safe, do not clean it, and consider getting it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. A professional grade will not only confirm the condition but also give the coin more credibility in the market, which means you can sell it for its full potential value. Here on Rare US Coins, we love sharing stories like this because they remind us that treasures are everywhere if you know how to look. Whether you are a beginner just getting into coin collecting or an experienced collector searching for your next big find, the 1989 penny is a perfect example of how knowledge can turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. So the next time you come across a penny, do not ignore it. Take a closer look because that little coin could be hiding a big surprise. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about rare coins, valuable errors, and the hidden gems in US coinage, make sure to subscribe to Rare US Coins.